Even though people leave, people come too. You know what I mean? And this is it's always interesting how life is sometimes, where and you think, that it feels like it's the end of the world, and this something happened, and you don't know what to do, and you think, what do I do next? Yeah, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I don't know. I feel totally I feel totally no control whatsoever in my life, and how am I supposed to get control? Yeah, how am I supposed to come back from this? How am I supposed to? I know what that feels like. I've gone through it too. It is really hard. And somebody really close to you, somebody important to you, is gone, and and you just, you have to somehow make the best of it, and you just have to go through it. Yeah, it's a mourning process. It is part of life, just like rejoicing is a part of life. There's a time for rejoicing. There's a time for sadness. There's a time for anger. There's a time to be scared. It's okay. It's part of life. And where we get in trouble is when we try to just stay in one of those. Yeah, but we're supposed to go through all of that, because all of that is part of a bigger experience. Yeah. So just the feeling alone, that's just a tiny part, and it's the bigger experience has more to offer, but you have to go through it first. Yeah, you have to express whatever emotion it is that you're feeling. You have to express it and let it out. And when you're letting that emotion out like that, what you're doing is you're opening another gate at the same time. And that gate is understanding, it's peace, it's love, and wisdom. Yeah. So that's why we have to experience. That's why we have to express those emotions. That's how life is. It's not over though. See, this is the thing. It's not over. It's just this part. Yeah, this part of this chapter is done, but this is not the last chapter. We still have a ways to go together. Yeah, so it's just a parting for now. And yes, that's sad, because in this world, they're not here anymore. They're not here to hold or talk to or everything. Their physical is not here. But they left that impression. Yeah? They left that impression inside of you. This is why we're designed to communicate with one another, so we can leave impressions upon one another, so that when we part, even if it's just moving to another town or another country or whatever, that we left impressions upon each other, and we can always go to those impressions. Yeah, and those are memories and the emotions that come with those and things like that. We can always go to those, and we are there. We are together again. It starts in the mind, yeah, and it always comes back to that concept. Reality begins within. It's always coming back to that. So these are times to do that. Yeah? That you think on that. And yes, it's gonna hurt, but eventually, it's as you express it, you're gonna start to get healing at the same time. You'll eventually come to peace with it, and it will be fine. Yeah, it will be fine, because you still have her, or your whoever it is that you're missing. You still have them in your mind, and when you think about them, you have all that emotion and everything. You hear the voice, and so forth. But before we do that, though, we really, really, really should work through the emotion. And in times like this, that means we have to mourn. Yeah? We have to cry. We have to do that, because that's the beginning of the healing. That's the beginning of moving on. Moving on does not mean leaving behind. No, 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 no. It just means we move on in the new situation. That's all. That's all it means. You're not leaving anything behind. You're taking it with you, but you're at peace at the same time. Yeah. But first we have to work through that emotion. Then we mourn. That's why in Lakota culture, we mourn for at least a year. And during that year, we're not supposed to do ceremonies. We're not supposed to participate in ceremonies. We're not supposed to go to any celebrations. Wherever there's a large group of people, we're not supposed to go there. And there's other things too that we're not supposed to do. That we're not supposed to handle knives, weapons. We're not supposed to. We're supposed to be mourning. Yeah. So, and then when that year of mourning is over, then they have the completion of the ceremony. So it's called Nagi Gluha. Yeah. This is where they cut a part of the hair off of the person who died, and a relative keeps that. A relative they trust keeps that hair in a special place, in a special location, because it is still. See, in Lakota tradition, we have this. There's this thing called tun. Tun is the energy essence from your soul. It's in your hair. It's in your fingernails. It's in your, when it comes out through your hands. So when you make something with your hands, like food or an item or an artwork, part of you is going into that. Yeah. When you're wearing your clothes, a part of your tone is going into your clothes. So this is why when we travel, we're supposed to be careful that we don't just leave anything all over the place. Because if let's say I travel to China and I forget my T-shirt over there, and an unhealthy energy comes on it. Okay? And here I am in Berlin now. Maybe I'm I don't even know the distance. I'll just estimate. Let's say I'm 10,000 miles away from China. I'm separated from my T-shirt by 10,000 miles. Okay? So if an unhealthy energy touches my T-shirt, see, it's still connected to me. So I could get sick from it. Even though that shirt's laying somewhere in the dirt 10,000 miles away, I can still get sick from that. So that's why we're not supposed to just leave things all over the place. So it's a beautiful thing when people give their shirts to each other, like best friends. Yeah, they give their shirts to each other. What they're saying is they trust each other with their lives, because they're giving a part of a connection to their soul to the other person. And it's very sacred. It's very special. Yeah. So when you give a shirt away, you're supposed to smudge it. And like if you're going to give it to like an organization that sends clothes to poor areas and stuff like that, you can. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to wash your shirt first, and then you smudge it with sage, and then in your mind you say, this doesn't belong to me anymore. That's how you get your tone out of the shirt. So that way, if it ends up in Bosnia or Afghanistan or Syria, yeah, and there's an unhealthy element there, it won't do anything to you, because you took it out. You took your connection to it out. So these are all Lakota customs. Yeah, that's true. There's more to it than that, but I'm just going to say this part. Okay, this much. It's in other things too. But I'll just say this much to explain my story here. So when a person dies, like I said, they usually cut a part of their hair off, a small strand of hair or whatever, and if they choose a person in the family to watch over it, and they have to protect it and stuff like that, and they put it in a special place, a special room, yeah, in the house or something, that nobody can go in that room because that hair is in there. And but then what happens next is that people can go into that room and talk to that hair, because remember, that hair still has the spiritual essence of the person who died. So it is a connection to the person. Yeah. So a person can go in that room and talk to that as if that person is there, because technically the person is, because of the tool. Yeah. So you can go in there and say things that you meant to say and you didn't get around to saying. You can say whatever it is. That you can, if there was a difficulty between both of you, this is a time, this is a way we can work it out. This is the way you can come to peace with it. You can come to terms with it. Or if you're just sad, and you can go there and talk every day and say, "Man, I'm really having a problem. It's really hard for me to live without you." And you can start like that, and every day just keep talking. Eventually, you'll get healed from it. So they do this for a year, yeah. And sometimes close relatives will cut part of their hair off and put it with the deceased person, and then that way that deceased person has a connection with you as they journey, because that tone is going to travel with them. You see what I mean? So you don't, like what I see some people do is they go to a beauty shop and they get a short haircut and they get it all stylish so it still looks good, and then whatever hair is left, that's what they use. That's not correct. That's not correct. How do you know that person's mourning? How do you know they just got a short haircut? See, that's like trying to take a shortcut. What you're supposed to do is you grab from the left, yeah? You grab half of your hair from the left side. You put it in half, yeah? And then you get a knife or scissor, and then you cut that left piece off. So when people see your hair, they notice that half of it's long and half of it's short. Then they know you're in mourning. You don't cut all of it short. But today people don't want to do that because they think it makes them look funny. So they cut all of it off and get a nice, stylish, short haircut. And then they say they're in mourning. This is false. This is incorrect. It just says you got a nice haircut and you're ashamed to have that look. That's making fun of a tradition. And a lot of young people do that today. You know, they just get short haircuts. And that's bullshit, in my opinion. So you're supposed to show that you're in mourning by cutting only half off. Then people understand that you're in mourning. They know for sure you're in mourning. Yeah, that's how that works. So that's how that is. Yeah. So this is some of those traditions. And so yeah, that happens for a year. Yeah, where you can go visit the hair of that deceased person for up to a year. And then when that year is over, all the family assembles again, and then a holy person is going to they deal with that hair. That's all I'll say. It's kind of a sacred thing, so I'm not going to really go into detail on it. But they deal with the hair effectively. That's all, I'll say it like that. And then that part of the ceremony is over. And then those who are in mourning, you know, those who cut off half of their hair, those are close relatives. Then they're assembled all the people come and they assemble. They sit in a big circle around them, and then the mourners are brought in, and they sit them down, and then they sit. Everybody sits on the ground, yeah. And then other relatives come. They bring a cup of water. Um, they bring a comb and something to wash the face. And so what they do is they get the maybe it's a towel or something, and they get it wet, and then they wash the mourners' faces, and then they put the comb in the water, and then they comb their hair back. Yeah, and this part of the ceremony is called wiping the tears, and this is the only thing that people do today. Yeah, they just do the wiping the tears. They don't even do that other part. I think the other part is more beautiful, in my opinion. The keeping of that piece of hair for a year, so you can go there and talk to it, because it is connected to that person. That person can still hear you through that hair. That's Lakota tradition. I think that's really beautiful. So that gives you time to heal and to get used to living without that person in a really nice, respectful way. And because that conflicted with the Bible, the Christian priest said that ceremony is from the devil. So the only thing that they let the Indians do was that wiping the tears. So that's why on the reservation today, that's all they do is the wiping the tears. They don't do that other part, which to me I think is a great injustice, because it's missing the whole point. It's taking away that talking to the soul. I think that's really important to do that, and the priest took that away. Yeah, so the complete ceremony is this wiping the tears is just a small part of a bigger ceremony called Nagi Gluha. Yeah, so after that, then Heokas come into the circle now. Heokas are men who dream of the thunder. And what they're supposed to do is do everything backwards. See, the thunder being, what the thunder being does. The thunder being is called Wakian. What Wakian does is she cleanses the earth when she comes. Yeah, she cleanses with her lightning and thunder. This cleanses the area through sound and through hitting the earth with her thunder. With her lightning. Yeah, so she comes to cleanse, and this is she put, when Lakota people were making the first drums, she put her power in there, so that when you hit the drum, it's cleansing. That's why when you feel down, you should go out and get a drum and start beating it, and you will feel better. Yeah, you might cry first, but in the end, you will feel better. Yeah, it is healing, and that's because of Wakian. She put her cleansing power in that drum, in all drums. Heokas are the male manifestation of Wakian. Wakian is both male and female. When she's female, she's Wakian. When she's the thunder being, yeah. When she's male, she's Heoka. That's why when men dream of thunder, they have to be Heoka. Heoka, they cleanse too, but they cleanse through humor. Yeah, so they do everything backwards. The simplest tasks in the world, they do it really difficult. Like sitting on a chair. They do it like the chair is really big, and like they're trying to climb up. Yeah, like it's a really big chair. And they do just silly things, and they dress backwards. Their clothes inside out and backwards. They walk backwards, and when they talk, they speak in opposites. So if one comes to you and says to you, "I hate you, you're ugly, I wish you were dead right now," what he really means is, "I love you, and I think you're beautiful. You are beautiful, and I hope you live a long life." See, they speak in opposites. Yeah. If you don't know that, they could freak you out. Yeah. But anyway, and after they wash the mourners' faces and comb their hair, the Heokas come in and they do their thing, and they start making people laugh. See, they're cleansing now. Yeah, they're cleansing their bodies. They're the emotions. They're out now. They're coming to peace with that death now, and now they can laugh. So the Heokas bring that. Yeah, they bring that so that people can start laughing again, and that laughter starts to cleanse their bodies, and they're welcome back into the social activities again. So now they can go to powwows and dances and big places where there's lots of people, and they can start participating in ceremonies and using weapons and knives and stuff like that. You see how that works? It's a really beautiful tradition. And so this is how that is. And just think, such a beautiful tradition. But in the beginning days of the reservation, we were forced on reservations, and we had no choice. And they were like prison camps, and so we couldn't leave them, and we couldn't have weapons, so we couldn't hunt, and we couldn't leave to hunt anyway. Yeah. So the only food that we were allowed to eat was what the government gave to us, and that was really unhealthy foods, just high in starch and fat, and so next thing you know, Indians all over the United States started getting high blood pressure, diabetes, heart diseases. Yeah, so that was hitting our physical part of ourselves. Then we were not allowed to participate in our ceremonies because the priest said they come from the devil. So we were hitting the spiritual side next. Then it was against the law to speak our language. So now we were hit in the emotional part of our life. And that leaves one more part, which is the mind. So since those three parts got hit, the mind became weak. And we started to believe whatever the priests were saying. This is the same condition that cult leaders and terrorist groups bring their new recruits to. Yeah, by keeping things away from them to control them. Yeah, by keeping nutritious foods away from them, by keeping, by saying certain things to them over and over to weaken their minds, so eventually they believe it. And part of that process, the priests were saying, this Nagi Gluha ceremony is from the devil. Don't do that. This Heokas, that comes from the devil. Don't do that. This drum, that comes from the devil. Don't be doing that. That's what was going on at the beginning of the reservation. So Indians started becoming Christian because they were weak. Yeah, they were mentally weak, physically weak, spiritually starving, and emotionally underdeveloped. So we became Christian. We started becoming dualistic. Yeah. So now here it is, 7 generations later, and we're incredibly dualistic. Maybe we don't go to church, but we still are dualistic. We only believe in this and that, whereas our ancestors believed in this and that and the other. And sometimes there were many others. You see what I mean? So it's a beautiful ceremony that really should come back, because I think if we bring the full ceremony back, I think people will be more careful with their lives. They'll take better care of their lives. They will value their lives more than they do now. And then they'll see, hey, we better wear our seatbelts. You see what I mean? So it's not a white thing, yeah? Oh gosh, it's a good day. It's a good day. It will be a good day. Yeah. For those of you in South Dakota, it will be a good day. So yeah. So this is how that goes. for us that are still here when our relative dies. This is how it is for us and the ceremony that we used to do. It's this beautiful ceremony. It doesn't talk about a God. It talks about us. It talks about us still having a connection to that person. And even when that year is over and that Nagi Gluha ceremony comes to completion, we still can talk to that person in our minds and our hearts together. Using our mind and our heart together, we can still talk to that person. They left their impression on us. That's medicine. Yeah, can take a walk in nature and say, well, this is what I'm doing, and I don't know, I'm thinking of doing that. I'm not too sure though. But yeah, maybe I will anyway. Whatever. Yeah, there's no rule that says you can't do that. You're supposed to do that. That's why the impression is there, so you can talk to it, so you can think to it, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're designed to communicate. It's not just to people that are around us, but to the impressions that others have left inside of us who are no longer here physically. See, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, and the church has said that conflicts with the Bible, that means it comes from the devil. No, it doesn't. It just is. Yeah, it doesn't matter where it came from. It just is. We don't need to argue and debate over where it came from. What we should be doing is utilizing it and doing it because it's part of life. This Nagi Gluha ceremony. It's a very, very beautiful ceremony, in my opinion, that I really think it should be brought back, because it's really a very healthy way to deal with losing somebody. Yeah. So this is how that works. Yeah. And now I said earlier, this is I was talking about, well, this is what happens to those of us who are left behind. This is what we do. But what about the soul? What happens to the soul? Well, yeah. First of all, we have to talk about what is a soul. In the Lakota Star Knowledge way, a soul is an energy, and it has two pieces. One piece is very sacred, and I'm not going to say what it is. The second piece is you, your individual identity. Okay? Now, when we are here on the earth, we have 4 soul pieces. The third piece is what allows us to be in this part of the universe. The fourth piece is from their grandmother Earth. This is what allows us to be on this earth. This is her. This is how we connect to her. So when I was talking at the beginning of the show, well, not at the beginning, around the middle of the show, I mentioned something about the sacred center, where your physical body, your mind, and your emotions, and your soul connect. This is the sacred center. This is where there are several sacred pieces there. One of them belongs to the earth. Yeah. So this allows you to live on this earth. So now when a person dies, the soul separates from the physical body, which means the emotions are left with the body, as well as the personality. The personality and emotions are with the body. That comes from the body. The personality comes from the brain. The emotions comes from the body. By how we interact with things. But those stay with the body. Okay. So when the soul, it can be around here for as long as it wants. It can choose to remain on this earth as long as it wants. There is no set time. Now there's an incorrect belief that says that the more we cry around for somebody, the more we trap them on this earth. This is false. No, the soul can leave anytime it wants. The soul is not bound by your emotions or any emotions. Emotions belong to the physical body. So it can leave whenever it wants. Sometimes they stay around. Yeah? And when it's time to leave, it gives back one part of the piece. Remember, it has 4 pieces. When it's on this earth, it has 4 pieces. When it's getting ready to leave the earth, it gives that earth piece back to the earth. Then it goes up to a certain area in the stars, a certain star constellation. And then there, it gives back the 4th piece. That 4th piece allows the soul to come into this part of the universe. So it gives back that 4th piece, or that 3rd piece, whatever. It gives back that, we'll say, the universe piece. Okay? Now it has just those 2 again. That sacred piece and its individual identity. So then it goes through a tunnel in space, and it comes to a holy woman, and she looks at the soul, and she looks at these 2 pieces, and she says, if these 2 pieces have the same energy, she lets you go by. And then that's something different that happens after that, okay? But let's stay with this. What most of the time happens is that the pieces don't match. They don't have the same energy. So the soul has to turn around, go back through that tunnel again, and it comes back out of that same constellation, that star constellation, and there it gets that 3rd piece again. It gets that universe piece again. And then it chooses a child on the earth to be born into. Okay? So when that child is born and takes its first breath, that's when the soul with its 3 pieces comes into the crown of the child, and it joins that child. Okay? So, now let's talk about the mother of this child. The mother, as soon as she conceives, right at that point where the sperm has entered the egg, right at that moment, the earth gives a part of her soul to this child. Because in Lakota, it's already considered a child, even though we can't see it yet. Yeah, it's already considered a child. So at that point of conception, the earth gives a part of her soul to this piece, this child. Yeah. So it has the grandmother earth piece already in it. Then it starts forming. Its physical body forms. Then its mind forms. And then its personality, and the child then begins to express emotions. So at that point, during the 9 months of pregnancy, the child has a physical body, it has a personality from the brain, and it has emotions. It's feeling emotions. Yeah? And it has a soul piece from our grandmother Earth. So there are 4 parts of the 4 parts of the self are there. It has a physical body, it has a mind, It has emotions, and the Mother Earth soul is there. So there are 4 parts. But remember, the soul itself has 4 parts, but just one part is there. During the pregnancy, just one part is there. Okay? So now, when the baby is born, coming back to that again, when the baby is born, remember I said up in that star constellation, there's a soul up there. And it has 3 pieces. Yeah? It has its own piece, plus its sacred piece, and the universe piece. Okay? So when that baby takes its first breath after it's born, that 3-piece soul then comes inside the baby, joins with the Mother Earth piece, and now it has 4 parts of the soul again, and it starts all over. You see what's happening? It's a reincarnation. And in Lakota Star Knowledge version of reincarnation, it's not about karma. Yeah, it's not about, like, if you lived a really horrible life in the previous lifetime, that your next one's going to be just like a punishment. No, that's not our belief. Not at all. The belief is not about being good or bad. That's not the belief. Because that's duality, if you remember. The whole idea is to learn so that your soul piece will one day match that sacred piece that's inside of you. Because when your soul piece finally matches the sacred piece, then that lady in the stars is going to let you go by when you're in that part of the journey, if you remember what I said. Yeah? So it's about learning and enjoying blessings. When you can learn from your difficulties, that soul piece, your soul piece is starting to match the sacred piece that's inside of you. Yeah? Those 2 pieces that are always, that you always attach to a sacred piece. Yeah? That sacred piece is a fullness. And as you learn through your lifetimes, your piece eventually one day will match that sacred piece. Then what happens after that? That's another story. That you have to understand this one first before you can understand what comes next. Okay? So, excuse me. So, this keeps happening over and over and over. Now, it's not about how many times. That's not about that at all. It's about learning. Yeah? Some people can learn easier than others. That's okay. They just have more responsibility. Yeah? It all equals out. So, remember, you have to think in terms of non-linear, yeah? Because the tendency for everybody is to think in linear terms, like, okay, I went through 1,000 lifetimes, so that means I'm going to be done. No, it's not. It doesn't work like that. Yeah? It's absolutely not about that at all. It is about learning. Yeah? Learning from difficulty to see that difficulty is really not a bad thing. Yeah? That when you fail at something, it just means that you're still in process, that you're still inside an experience, and you just have to learn from it. That's all, and make the most out of it. Then it's over. Yeah? Then it's no longer a failure. It's no longer a mistake. It's a teacher. It's taught you something. It's blessed you. You turned it into a blessing because now you have knowledge, wisdom, and peace. Yeah. So as soon as you learn the beauty of that, and you learn what duality is and how you can make it work for you, your soul piece matches the sacred piece that's with you. Yeah. Remember, there's 2 pieces of your soul you're always giving up. It's going to be the earth piece and the universe piece. But those other 2 pieces, they're going to be with you most of the time. When your piece matches the soul piece, then there's a separation. And that's when the story gets really interesting. But do you see? There's always something happening. It's never over. There's no end. That's why there's no word for goodbye in Lakota. Yeah, instead we say until next time, which is Tokusha Ake. Yeah, so now you know why. So sometimes people just wait. Yeah, they wait, and because some souls they travel in groups. Now, think of that. It's been here many times. When you're looking at this through the Lakota star knowledge perspective, it's been here. The soul has been here many times. So when people say, "Yeah, my uncle's ghost appeared in front of me," I don't believe it. Because for one thing, it doesn't have an appearance. Some people will say, "Yeah, my uncle's ghost appeared in front of me and he said, 'Howdy, Kola.'" How can it have a voice when the voice belongs to the body? The only way you can make a voice is with a vocal box, that voice box in your throat. And the only way to do that is with the physical body. Even when you're talking about an MP3, an MP3 is just zeros and ones. That's all it is. But it has to go through some kind of hardware where it interprets those zeros and ones into a song. But then you have to have more hardware like speaker or headphones to actually hear that music. But it's not just going to appear out of nowhere. And even when you sing it, it's done with your voice box. It's never done out of thin air. That would violate natural law. So this is why a ghost cannot have a voice. So when you look at our old stories, and they say something like, all the ghost stories are funny, because in our way, it's impossible for it to have a voice. And it's impossible for it to have a form. Yeah? Because think of that. It's been here hundreds of times. Which body is it going to use? And it's had a different voice every time. And maybe sometimes it was a man. Maybe sometimes it was a woman. So which one is it going to appear as? Do you see what I mean? It's impossible. So it's just an energy. It's just an energy presence. That's all it is. And it has like there's something like everything is like, just think of it like it's a storage facility, like a hard drive. Yeah. And sometimes in our lives, we might have a dream where, see, in our remember I said there's 4 parts of the soul? Well, there's also 4 parts of the mind. And in our sleep, we may drift into one of these parts that's connected to a previous lifetime. And we may tap into that somehow and get a dream where we're somebody else. And it feels so real. And that's kind of tapping into a previous lifetime. It's interesting, yeah? But you see that it can only happen with the physical body. When the person is out of the physical body and the person died and it's just the soul now, it has access to all that information ever since it was created. Ever since your soul piece was created, when you're a soul, when you're not in a body, you have instant access to all of the experiences that you ever had, all lifetimes. But as soon as you come into a human body, those are blocked. Because you're here to learn. So there's a new partition made in your hard drive to be filled with new information. Do you see what I mean? Using computer terms here. But every now and then, sometimes we kind of take a sneak peek into that other area, and then we wake up and we're like, holy crap! I dreamt I was a woman, you know. And people all laugh at you, so you be quiet after that, yeah. But this is how that works, yeah. This is really an interesting thing. Um, the soul will stay, yeah, around as long as it wants, and then when it's time to go, there's a certain time of the year where the souls gather at a place in the north, and they're going to wait for another lady from the stars. She's going to come and get them. She's like driving. You could say she's like a bus driver. Yeah, she's coming to pick these souls up, and she's going to take them to that constellation where they begin the next part of the journey. Yeah, so the stories always say they go north to a place where there's a lot of pine trees, and they wait until it's time, that when all of them are going to go that year. Because remember, you can stay as long as you want. So you can go up there anytime and then just wait until that lady comes, and then there's a certain night in December where she comes, and then she gathers everybody, and then they go up and begin this journey to that other lady in the stars, where she looks at your two soul pieces. Yeah, and that's a really sacred night that happens on winter solstice. So anyway, they can still hear what people are saying because of that tone. Remember that? What I said in the hair? So that when you talk to it, they feel what you're saying. They can comprehend what you're saying. That's why I said it's like they literally are there, even though the actual soul is moving someplace else. Yeah. So this is how that works for the soul, from the soul's perspective. So it keeps coming back over and over and over. And it doesn't matter how many times it comes back. That's not the point. The point is that it comes back to learn. So it doesn't. It's not about being born into a good situation because your previous lifetime you were really good. No, it's not about that at all. You just come wherever there's a baby that's going to be born. You come in there and then you just try to make the best of whatever life that child is going to have. And sometimes it's extremely difficult. Look at what's happening in the Mideast. Look at what's happening in the Ukraine, in Africa, and the Ebola, and all these things. And just children are coming into that scene. They didn't choose to do that. The souls came because there was a body. And now they're here. They have to just make the best of it. They have to learn and make the best of it. That's why to me, this rules out the concept of a God. Because if there was a God, why would he send you to a poor area? And let's say you're born a girl, and while your mother is pregnant, you're already sold to another man, so that by the time you turn 8 years old, you're heading to a man who's 72 years old, and he bought you, and you're his child bride, and he's gonna, since you're married to him, you're only 8 years old, but you're his wife. He, according to their law, he can have sex with you, even though you're just an 8-year-old girl. Why would God allow that to happen? Shit happens. That's a universal law. Yeah. So it's not about being rewarded from our previous lifetime. It's not about that at all. It's not about karma. It's about learning. Yeah, it's about learning, enjoying your blessings, and living. Yeah, that is what it's about. So you make the best, and you help others. If you're in a beneficial situation, yeah, and then you see what you can do. If you have the ability to help others, and the time, then you do it. You go and say, okay, man, I came into a really nice situation. I know other people didn't, so I'm gonna go give them a helping hand. Shit, we're all connected to each other, man. That's beautiful. We're all connected to each other. So I'm going to do what I can to help these other people. And I don't know who they are, yeah, but they need help. That's just the bottom line, is they need help. And if I can help, then I'm going to help. You see how that works? That's the natural law of generosity. Yeah? You give and you receive. You help and you ask for help when you need it. You have to do both. Neither one is more important than the other. Now, there are some belief systems that say it's better to give than to receive. I don't agree with that, because that also means that whoever's receiving is less than you, and you're better. That's linear thinking. That's only going in one direction, and that's not how life is. Life is not like that. Yeah? So, like I said, sometimes we need to ask for help. We're supposed to, because we're designed to help one another. And sometimes people don't know when we need help. So that's why we got to say, hey, I need ushimala yo, I need help. Could you please help me? We're designed to do that. And when people really, really do want to help us, their communication is a healthy thing. And that's going to return to them 4 times as strong. So everybody benefits. That's what ushimalayo means, or ushimalaye for women. Yeah, that's a beautiful concept. Then the churches came and said, no, it means have mercy upon my soul, because I was born in sin. So today on the reservation, people think ushimala means have pity on me. It doesn't mean that. That's what the Catholics changed it to. Remember what I said earlier, is that there was a time on the reservation where we were incredibly weak-minded in the early 1900s, and that's how we became Christians. And so we started to accept whatever the priests were saying, and then the priest started changing certain Lakota words. They started changing the definition. This is why today you go on a reservation, you ask some old person, what does ushimala mean? 99% of the time they're going to tell you, have pity on me. And that's your evidence of the effectiveness of that brainwashing that happened in the early 1900s. It does not mean have pity on me. It means help me so you can be blessed. Yeah? That's beautiful. So, this is why we do that. Yeah? This is why we help one another. Those who are in less fortunate situations, we do what we can to provide some kind of relief. We don't have to know them. But they just ended up in a shitty situation. So we got to do our part. And even just talking about it, that spreads the knowledge to others that have no idea this is going on. The more people know about these sick ways that are happening around this world, eventually somebody's going to do something about it. So we have to talk about it. We have to spread the word about these unhealthy activities that are happening in certain parts of the world. Because we were designed to help and ask for help. Yeah? So, there you have it. That's the reason why we're here. Yeah? So the most important thing about reincarnation is it's not important. You don't have to believe it. I'm just telling you the belief system. But I'm not saying you have to believe it. What's most important is right now. You look around, yeah, where are you? This is the most important moment. Yeah, because when you're thinking in the present moment, that influences your future. And if you are at peace with your past, then you're really in the present moment. Yeah, and that's going to help your future even more to be healthy. Yeah, that's beautiful. When you deal with your past, you're in the past, but you're in the present at the same time. When you're influencing your future, you can use visualization, you can set goals, and then act like you're already in the future and experience those wonderful feelings. Yeah, and enjoy that of what and of what you're hoping to accomplish, and then come back to the present moment. You just connected with the future. You just connected with the future. So you see, we can be in more than one place at the same time. That's non-linear. That's circular. Yeah. And the churches said that was from the devil. Shame on the churches. Shame, shame, shame.